listening to WUSM Hattiesburg. It's time for Southern Miss Today. Southern Miss Today is WUSM's news and public affairs program. Southern Miss Today airs Monday through Thursday at noon. Southern Miss Today is sponsored by Mr. Sippy Beverages. And now to start the show, Southern Miss Student Media News.
You're listening to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. You're here with Madison Warren, and I'm here to give you all the news surrounding Hattiesburg and the world. So let's dive in. The Black Eyed Susans are a women's leadership group on campus, and they are accepting applications. The link to apply can be found on Instagram at USM Black Eyed Susans. The Black Eyed Susans will also be having an event tomorrow in the Cook Union from 11 to 1 called Seeds for Susies. Come by and buy a packet of Black Eyed Susans to plant. How cute! Homecoming week is upon us. There are many activities happening this week leading up to the big day Saturday. Today, Seeking Seymour is happening all day, and there are golden rocks to be found all around campus. Where's Waldo is also happening, so be on the lookout for any SGA members in striped shirts. If you find the Waldo today, make sure you take a selfie with them. The homecoming kickoff rally will begin at 4 p.m. today in Centennial Green. Come show all the school spirit that you can. The homecoming parade will begin at 1 p.m. Saturday with the Eagle Walk happening at 4. Adam Doliak will be performing at Spirit Park at 3 p.m. and admission is free. The game will begin at 6 with the homecoming court presentation at halftime. A local church rallied to support the victims of Hurricane Ian, returning to the Magnolia State Sunday after delivering about $10,000 worth of supplies over the weekend. Members of Trinity Baptist Church in Laurel donated money and supplies to Fort Myers, Florida area church, including items like sanitary goods, food, and water. The church members headed to Florida Friday afternoon and got back to Mississippi Sunday afternoon. The 2022 installment of Cruising the Coast was a cruise like no other. The massive event offered many people the opportunity to catch up with loved ones and even introduce people to someone new who also shares a love for cars. The total number of classic vehicles registered Saturday firmly secured a new record for Cruising the Coast at a whopping 9,610 cars. More than 1,800 of those were first-time cruisers. State regulators are investigating after a video showing 4 daycare employees scaring children at a facility in an unincorporated Northeast Mississippi community went viral on social media. The videos on Facebook show a daycare worker at Little Blessings Child Care and Learning Center in Hamilton, Mississippi, wearing a Halloween mask and yelling at children who didn't clean up or act good. The facility's owner, Sheila Sanders, told the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal that she was unaware of the videos until Wednesday. She said one apparently was filmed in September and another on Tuesday, but no one told her about it. Sanders said the employees have been fired. The State Department of Health and the Monroe County Sheriff's Office are investigating. The Mississippi State Fair opened October 6th and will run until October 16th. Gate admission is $5 per person and parking is $5 per car. Children ages 6 and under will be admitted free of charge. Fair admission is free every weekday from 11 a.m. until 1, except today because it is Columbus Day. Speaking of Columbus Day and now Indigenous Peoples Day is being observed today, October 10th, and while some will have the day off from work or school, others may wonder what errands they can run or what movies to see. The federal holiday is always celebrated the second Monday of October. Many banks are closed today, post offices and government buildings are closed today as well. We will be right back with sports and weather after these messages.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mr. Sippy Beverages. Mr. Sippy Beverages provides water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mr. Sippy Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To start, Mr. Sippy will give you 1 month cooler rental and 2 bottles of water for free. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mr. Sippy Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. When you or your business sponsors programming on WUSM, you are getting more than recognition for your product. You are also gaining the appreciation of our audience who understands that your sponsorship provides their favorite programming. And research shows that the audience is more likely to patronize your business, too. In addition, the cost of sponsoring programming on WUSM is tax deductible. To learn more, call 601-266-4287.
2, 1.
Welcome back to the top. Volleyball improves to 12-6 after sweeping a 2-game set at Louisiana Monroe. Mia Wesley showed out again with 34 kills across the 2 games. She is now 18 shy of 1,000 on her career. The Golden Eagles are back in action at Texas State starting Friday at 6 p.m. Southern Miss Soccer tied Troy 1-1 at home Sunday. Blessing Kingsley scored her first goal of the season in the 4th minute. That would be all for scoring as it ended in the 1-1 tie. Southern Miss bounced back after the last week's loss, improving to 1-7-3. Southern Miss women's golf are competing in the Lady Red Wolves Classic at Sage Meadows Golf Club in Jonesboro, Arkansas. The event is happening today and continuing into tomorrow. The Golden Eagle football team lost 27-10 playing Troy this past weekend, but they have a chance to bounce back this weekend as they play Arkansas State at home this weekend for our homecoming. In weather, we're in for more beautiful weather today thanks to another round of dry air after a weekend front, but a noticeable pattern change occurs as well. That pattern change isn't a surprise though. It was just a matter of time before fall fronts become much more frequent. We'll see 2 fall fronts over the next 10 days, and that's after receiving one Saturday afternoon. That means we'll see more and more noticeable temperature swings, ushering in another temperature roller coaster transitional period. That means each day we'll see large shifts as we begin cooling into cool to chilly territory over the next few mornings, while afternoons return to the hot 80s. Thankfully, the humidity is low, so these 80s feel dramatically different than our upper 80s of the last several weeks. It won't stay low for long, though. Expect to see a big influx of warmer, more humid air Wednesday and Thursday as a front moves in, bringing our first rain chances in a few weeks. It isn't looking like anything concerning, but a few thunderstorms will certainly be possible Wednesday afternoon into the evening. The tropics are nice and quiet today as well, with no activity expected for the next 5 days. So that is all I have today. So, Jackson, how was your weekend?
Not bad. I attended a lot of football this week. High school game on Friday, and then I went to Troy Saturday. And let me just tell you, I'm glad the weather was good because the trip to Troy was an odyssey because just a lot of 2-lane back country roads. The ride home, we must have saw about 6 or 7 deer crossing the road. So it's kind of lucky that our guy's truck is still intact. But I want to ask you, how was your weekend, Madison?
It was good. It was good. I didn't do a whole lot. I just kind of stayed home, and I did go to Cruising the Coast. I went there Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, I guess. So I got to see a lot of cars, and I've never been before, so that was pretty interesting. And I got to go see some friends that I haven't seen in a while, so that was good.
Yeah, see, I've never been to Cruising the Coast, even though I'm really from the coast. Lucedale's pretty close. So, what was your favorite part of it?
Oh, I don't know. It was interesting. There were so many people, so many people. And we went to the Bay St. Louis area. Mm-hmm. So, I had to park a mile away, but it was okay. It was fun. I saw a lot of entertainment. There were people singing, and that was fun. They had a lot of good food. So, yeah, I liked the food. And the cars. The cars were interesting.
I know Charlie Luttrell of 4th Street's fame. He's from Bay St. Louis. He was telling me that's the best place to go for Cruising the Coast. So maybe you got to experience the best of it. Maybe he's biased. Who knows? But let's go on to Mississippi Moments, our daily segment here on Southern Miss Today. And let's hear from Italian immigrants coming to the Mississippi Delta as farmers. Let's have a listen.
This is Mississippi Moments, produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage at the University of Southern Mississippi and supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. I'm Bill Ellison. At the beginning of the 20th century, Italian immigrants were encouraged to come to the Mississippi Delta to farm. John Bassey shares his family's story.
My paternal grandparents immigrated from the town of Mantova province in northern Italy in 1906 to farm for Mr. Charles Scott in Rosedale. My father was born in this country, only one of his family that was born here. His 5 sisters and brothers were born in Italy. My maternal grandmother's family came from Sicily and landed in New Orleans. They moved from the Mediterranean coast in Sicily, and they were commercial fishermen down there, so they moved to the river over at Scott. They moved in a log cabin down there, and they were fishermen. And when my great-grandparents sold their fish, they had a mule and wagon. And to attract attention, to tell people that they were coming down the road, they had a large conch shell with the pointed end cut out of it, and you could blow it just like a horn, and you could hear it for a mile.
To hear more, visit MississippiMoments.org or just like us on Facebook. Mississippi Moments is supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. The humanities are for everyone.
Here back on Southern Miss Today, that was Mississippi Moments, and we thank MPB, as always, for providing that content for us. We're about to go to a quick commercial break, but before that I want to preview our very special interview guest. He is James Wilcox, the director of the Hatchery and also a professor of practice at the Southern Miss School of Management. Let's hear what the Hatchery has to do right after this on Southern Miss Today.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mr. Sippy Beverages. Mr. Sippy Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mr. Sippy Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To start, Mr. Sippy will give you 1 month cooler rental and 2 bottles of water for free. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mr. Sippy Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ed Simpson, Director of the School of Media and Communication at USM. I'd like for you to join me on Southern Miss Radio Friday afternoons at 12:30 for a new show, News You Need. On News You Need, I will be chatting with USM students about the news they are talking about and suggest a few stories we need to think about as a community and society. We'll look for connections between the headlines, how we live our lives, and have a bit of fun along the way. Join me for News You Need, Fridays at 12:30 on Southern Miss Radio. News You Need is sponsored by Adcock Pool, Spa, and Billiards.
Welcome back to Southern Miss Today. Here we have our very special guest, James Wilcox, the director of the Hatchery and a professor of practice at the Southern Miss School of Management. The Hatchery has their 4th annual Golden Idea Pitch Competition going on, and the deadline is Friday at midnight, just like a Canvas assignment. That being said, we welcome in James now. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for having me today.
It's good to have you here. And before we talk about the pitch idea competition, we'll get to that a little bit later. I want the listeners to kind of get to know you first. So, like you, and I was doing research on you, I also went from Gulf Coast Community College to Southern Miss. So, can you kind of talk about that experience and maybe what your favorite memory was in that time?
Ooh. Yeah, absolutely. So, unlike what you probably expect for someone who's teaching, I was a college dropout. And so I went to a 4-year university after my freshman year, became kind of disenfranchised in what I had thought my career trajectory was going to be, and decided to sit out for a bit. And so I took 4 years off from finishing my undergrad and worked for a startup during that time. So there was a friend of mine on the coast who had a business that he was just getting up and going, and he asked me, point blank, basically, will you give me 4 years to help me get this thing started? And without a clear path academically, I said, what the heck, why not? So I jumped right in and started slowly taking classes again at a community college on the coast. And once I felt I had a better view of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, I came back to state. I came back up to Hattiesburg and pursued an undergrad in international business. And doors opened up to go straight from that into a master's in economic development, which really, to me, represented a way to use what I was learning in business to help other people improve their quality of life. And little by little, more opportunities presented themselves across the state. I became really involved with high school education, specifically with how do you show high school students in a state like Mississippi who don't see an opportunity, how do you retrain them to actually see opportunities in their backyard? And so we started up an entrepreneurship program to do exactly that, to show them how to create value and how to spot opportunities wherever they existed. And we started that in 2007. This is gonna date me a little bit, okay? So we started it in 2007, and at this point, we've worked with about 7,000 high school students across the state of Mississippi that have, to some degree, expressed an interest in entrepreneurship. And a lot of those have started ideas. Some of them even paid for their college education through the process of doing that. And what we came to realize was, as the program grew, I couldn't be everywhere at once. I couldn't be in 70 high schools. But who is there is their teachers. And so we started up a teacher training program where they self-select themselves. It doesn't matter what they actually teach in the classroom. They could teach robotics, they could teach history, but if they understand how to teach an entrepreneurial mindset, it's a game changer. And so we had this built-in multiplier where these teachers gave up 75 hours of their time, some of them during the summer or during the semester, to become master teachers of entrepreneurship. And they go back into the classroom and they are the champions for entrepreneurship education and opportunities in the state. And all of that was fantastic. But our students here at Southern Miss weren't benefiting from a lot of those things. You know, we had some students that came from those high school programs and came to Southern Miss and studied nursing or studied business. But there was a huge gap here on our campus. And so over the last couple years, we've started to grow a movement, and we called it the Hatchery. We brought in different faculty and staff from across campus to talk about what they were doing in the innovation or entrepreneurship space. And so it became as an idea. Well, it started as an idea, the Hatchery did, but we needed a home. And so this last January, we opened up in Siena Hall. We call it the Inspiration Lab. And it's a place where it doesn't matter what your academic background is or what you're interested in. You can come, you can find a safe space. A lot of students come in and they say immediately, I have an idea, I've never talked to somebody about this. Where do I go? And that's where the conversations start. And our hope is to help build those bridges, bring in different skill sets. So if a student says they need help with app development or with website development or with advertising, whatever those things are, wherever they are in that life span of their business idea, that we can help start formulating those connections.
You talked about your teacher training program, and then obviously how that translates to where students needed somewhere to go on campus. How many of those, I guess you could say, success stories do you see where people go through, they have a teacher that goes through that program, then they come to Southern Miss and visit the Hatchery? How many of those do you see?
It's hard to track, but I do see those faces. Even this week, I see some of those students that have gone through or had teachers that were extremely active and really were those champions. And so I don't have a good head count, but I do know that I see them frequently. So it's a neat reminder of the impact that we're having in the state.
It just goes to show that teachers really are the best.
That's right.
So one thing I want to ask you is, so the Hatchery came up a couple years ago. You kind of touched on it, but what was kind of the main reason for coming up with this? Was there a moment where you're like, oh, we really need to do this?
Yes. So we did a study actually right before COVID hit to identify where gaps existed on campus. And we found that we had a wealth of resources. So in the Trent Lott Center, we have the Small Business Development Center. And they're a fantastic resource, and they're really cheerleaders for business success. They're really, really good at marketing and market research. They're really, really good at assisting with planning out financials, so 5-year projections, looking at cash flow analysis, all of those things that generally we kind of shy away from because they're not our strong suits. We have those groups and those pockets across campus that they excel in those things, but they're not well advertised. And oftentimes for a student, you don't know who to go to next. So we needed a hub. And that's really what the genesis of the Hatchery was this realization that nobody was acting as the connector to bring all these pieces to the table, and also to make sure that students knew who to go to next with their questions.
I'm here with James Wilcox, the director of the Hatchery. The 4th annual Golden Idea Pitch Competition is going on. Could you just kind of tell us a little bit about that?
So the last 3 years, we've had the pleasure of expanding this idea of kind of a Shark Tank business idea pitch competition for students. But it became really clear after the first 2 years that as soon as it sounds businessy and there's a fear that I'm going to have to stand on stage and justify numbers and financials, you immediately estrange a lot of students on campus. So last year, we took a completely different approach to this and said, you know what, it's just an idea competition. Come with the best you got. We just want to hear about the idea, the passion behind the idea, and we want to see that you understand the problem that you're trying to solve. And we had students from every college on campus. We had over 20 different degree programs represented, and it was amazing to see the amount of growth that took place just as a result of taking a different approach to the competition. And we're doing it again. But this year, we've really doubled down on one element, which is how enthusiastic is the student about solving that problem, and we want to help them do it. And so, whereas in the past, it's great to give the student the big check at the very end and say, great job, great idea, but that's not enough. We want to see that student actually succeed in doing it. And so this year, we're taking the final pitch competition and we're making it a plea to the campus community and the broader community at large to come on board and assist those students in actually doing that. And so the last piece of the competition is about 48 hours. So it's a hackathon, more or less, where we bring in mentors, we bring in resource providers, and we surround those students with those things, and we provide funding to actually get those ideas off the ground.
Could you tell us just a little bit about these ideas? You kind of mentioned it was almost Shark Tank-esque.
Yeah.
Could you maybe give us some examples of the previous winners so that maybe we can understand kind of what y'all are looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you an example from last year. So last year's first place winner was a freshman from biological sciences. She's not from the United States. And so when she first moved to Hattiesburg, she was trying to open up a bank account. And was walking down Hardy Street to go visit a bank in the heat of September, basically. It was like, it would be so much easier if there was a way for me to connect with someone who could give me a ride. And so her idea was broader than just a marketplace for people who have a need and people who have a car. It was a revisiting of how do we define volunteerism? And is there a way to actually create a market for volunteers who not only can serve a purpose, but get credit for doing it? And so that was her idea, was based out of a personal pain, but it was a great idea for creating a marketplace that has value on both ends. But those are the types of things that we see come out of this. So that doesn't have to be university-based. That just happened to be a local problem. But as long as that student understands the problem, they understand the people who experience that problem, and they truly want to do something about it. I don't really care if the student's passionate about their solution. That's actually sometimes kind of a hindrance or a hurdle we have to overcome. It's more important that they're passionate about the problem, because if they're passionate about that, they're willing to change the solution as they figure out what works and what doesn't work. The solution doesn't matter so much as it is that they really, really want to solve this thing.
So you would say these students are some of the more creative on campus, would you agree?
So that's a very subjective thing, right? Okay. So creativity. Creativity is one of those things that you actually get worse at over time. It's one of those things that it starts to disintegrate or erode, and we can blame it on education. We can blame it on other things, but kindergartners of all are actually by far the most creative. There's been research done on this that when they studied divergent thinking, which is a necessary capacity for creativity, that kindergartners, 90-something% of them rank as geniuses, but as they track those students over time, we lose it. But the creative students are the ones that practice it. They're the ones that realize that it's like a muscle that has to be exercised. And so I can't say that they're the most creative students, but they're the ones that live in that space and they use it daily.
That's actually kind of profound. It's like a muscle in your body. I never thought of it like that. The Golden Idea pitch competition ends Friday, so it's not too late to enter, correct?
It's not. Yeah, and I hope that we still see some ideas coming in even until the 11th hour on Friday, and I'm sure that we will. But yeah, I do encourage you, don't wait till the last minute. You can submit more than one idea. I know a lot of people will have multiple. So as many ideas as you have, they don't have to be earth-shattering ideas, but we're looking for a passion. We're looking for enthusiasm.
Last thing for me, could you just tell us how to get in touch with the Hatchery and maybe how to submit your idea for the Golden Idea pitch competition?
The easiest way to look us up and to find out about other events that we're doing as well, because every week we have stuff going on in the Hatchery. So whether it's coffee with an entrepreneur, lunch at the Hatchery, different speaker series, you can find all of that by either following us on Instagram or on Facebook. Either way, facebook.com/USM Hatchery, Instagram.com/USM Hatchery. Either way, you can find out what's going on over in that space, how you can get involved, and how to submit your ideas.
All right. The director of the USM Hatchery, James Wilcox, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be right back after these commercial messages on Southern Miss Today.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mr. Sippy Beverages. Mr. Sippy Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mr. Sippy Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To start, Mr. Sippy will give you 1 month cooler rental and 2 bottles of water for free. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mr. Sippy Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online. Join Southern Miss Radio on Sunday mornings from 6 a.m. till noon for Sunday Brunch. You'll get jazz and swing music from artists as wide-ranging as Bix Beiderbecke to Brad Meldau, from Dippermouth himself to Esperanza Spalding. But relax, you don't need to know anything about the music to enjoy it. It's a great way to wake up on Sunday morning. Sunday Brunch from 6 a.m. until noon on Southern Miss Radio.
Welcome back to Southern Miss Today. It is time for our daily SM2 wrap. It's great work done by the Southern Miss Student Media Center, and today we get to hear from Garrett Grove. I believe he's the executive producer or director, whatever his title is. He's the main shebang when it comes to Southern Miss TV, and he discusses the potential bias against workers by Aramark. Let's have a listen.
Aramark provides food services to students, faculty, and staff all across campus. But according to some current and former workers within the Fresh, they are also serving up discrimination. Not the students per se, but student workers. And it affects a certain demographic of said student workers as well.
International students from India. That's according to several people in multiple accounts given to Southern Miss Student Media. Due to fear of retaliation, many did not feel comfortable talking on camera. Those who did wanted their identities kept anonymous.
I can't blame the whole Fresh. But yeah, there are 2 to 3 people who are very rude and very mean. So the Aramark should seriously take action about this.
They don't even consider what I need, as a human. They don't even consider if I need to get some water or if I'll be thirsty or if I'll be, really exhausted. They don't care about that. They just need their things to be done.
SM2 has reached out to Marcus White, Aramark's operation director at USM, since April. Since May, we have reached out to Charles Dorsa, resident district manager for Aramark at USM. Neither have responded to multiple requests for comment. In late September, SM2 reached out to University Communications about the issues and the lack of communication from Aramark. USM Chief Communication Officer James Cole gave SM2 News a generic anti-discrimination statement from Aramark Corporate Communications. It did not address any complaints made by the student workers. As of now, USM has provided no official comment.
Though University Communications did not know of the grievances until September, USM's Division of Student Affairs did.
Back in April, SM2 News sat down with Dee Anderson, Vice President of Student Affairs at USM. She had not personally heard of any allegations of discrimination from students working at the Fresh or Aramark.
I would hope that the students would be comfortable enough to come forward and let someone know that this is happening so that it can be addressed.
I called to Aramark manager HR and I gave complaint. I don't know what action they took. Even I gave complaint to Aramark HR too.
Plans to address and prevent similar acts of maltreatment have not been laid out by USM or Aramark. Garrett Grove, SM2 News.
Welcome back to Southern Miss Today. Thank you, Garrett, for that package. And unfortunately, that's all we have time for today on Monday's show. So, on behalf of producer Kelsey Bolden, executive producer Whitney Howard, on the ones and twos, Devontae Anthony, and our newsreader Madison Warren, I've been Jackson Howell. Thank you for listening to Southern Miss Today. Stay golden, Eagles.
Southern Miss Today is your public affairs program, so use it. Be a guest on Southern Miss Today to spread the word about your civic events